Guys, welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. We are live on this Tuesday morning. Gotta say, guys, I've got to laugh. I've got to laugh. You know what? A post I saw this morning, had to say, made me chuckle straight away. Which was this: Rangers have announced that Maggie Thelwell is the new manager of Rangers. Yeah, you know what? You can see it happening. I think I did build on the back of that slightly by posting on to the channel's Instagram account. Rangers are proud to announce Gertrude Maud Thelwell, Kevin's gran, is the new manager of Rangers on a lifetime contract. Kevin is confident that his gran and her assistant Gordon, his granddad, can take this club forward. You know, you can see it coming, can't you? You can see it coming. Look, guys, welcome in this morning. We will get to your comments, of course. We are discussing all things Rangers. We are obviously on the back of the decision that the board have taken, and quite rightly, in my opinion, to sack Russell Martin, who is, look, you know, no matter what the assembled media will say, it was the right decision. He was always the wrong appointment. He's a guy who, for me, you know, genuinely was absolutely just... There was no logic to the appointment whatsoever. You know, you sit and you listen to the reasoning. You said, you know, obviously he had 7 interviews. He was the outstanding candidate. Well, like I said, it makes you think who else did the interview. Mr. Tumble, Coco the bloody clown, Margot the tea lady. Who did they interview for the job? You know, as I've said, his CV, you know, and I'm not just talking about his managerial stats, but going back to his, you know, his record with those clubs across his entire managerial career was a failure. And, you know, Simon Jordan can sit in his TalkSport studio and Simon Jordan can come out and say, oh, he wasn't a failure because he did well at Southampton for 1 season. I'm sorry, he's still a failure. He failed at MK Dons. He took them backwards in his first season and, yes, progressed to 10th in the league in his second season, but still did not do well at all, did not get them promoted, which was the aim for him when he was appointed as the MK Dons manager. He then went to Swansea, where he took over a Swansea team that had finished in the Premier League, finished in the promotion places, in the playoff places, and then took them backwards to mid-table. And again, yes, dominated possession, but did very little with it, conceded a lot of goals, and didn't do at all well. So look, I'm not pretending by any stretch of the imagination that, you know, this man was ever anything other than an utter disastrous appointment. And like I said, you know and I just want to talk about this initially. You know, I watched the TalkSport stuff this morning with Jim White, who I think, you know, Jim has his critics, and with Simon Jordan and with Emmanuel Petit. And I've got to say, I've never heard a bigger load of rubbish spoken in my entire life than by Simon Jordan and by Jim White. You know, absolute rubbish. You know, blaming the fans, blaming the abuse and whatever. You know, saying that the whole situation was nasty, it was horrible. You know, the situation around the bus was disgusting, and you know the fact that Russell Martin had to be taken out of the back entrance into a private car and taken away. You know, Manu Petit sits there as he doesn't like it. I do not like it. I do not like it. Well, mate, you're not a Rangers fan. I don't really care what you actually think, Emmanuel Petit. You know, you genuinely don't. You know, go and get a manager's job and show us if you can actually do the job. And as for Simon Jordan, you know, Simon Jordan sometimes speaks sense. Don't get me wrong, he does. But yesterday he was wrong. And he was wrong. And look, if anyone from TalkSport is watching, get me on. I will argue with Jim White and I will debate Simon Jordan and I will beat Simon Jordan in any debate over this, because the guy is talking utter crap. I mean, the whole thing about, the bus was being blocked and there was, you know what? There was no aggression in that whatsoever. And there was a Rangers fan who called yesterday, an alleged Rangers fan, that said, you know, I've been supporting this club 60 years and I'm ashamed of my team, blah, blah, blah. Shut the fuck up, old man. No one cares what you think. Right, let's get this straight. You know, Russell Martin was slunk out the back exit, right? Because he didn't want to face the crowd. He didn't want to face the fans, right? There was no threat of violence. There was no threat of attack. There was no threat of any aggression there. The fans were gathered round the bus. They were protesting. There was nothing thrown. The bus was not blocked off for the long term. Nothing was smashed. No one was killed. No one was hurt. No barriers were thrown. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. Now, if we were sitting here today and on Sunday, if Rangers fans had thrown objects or had thrown the barriers or whatever at the team coach, then yeah, fine, come out and say the fans acted irresponsibly. The fans were shameful. The fans were. It was disgusting what the fans did on Sunday. But they did nothing wrong. They did absolutely nothing wrong. You know, they wanted to air their feelings. They wanted to air their frustrations to the players and to the then manager. The manager didn't have the balls to face the fans. He slunk out of a back exit like the coward that he is, or was, or is still, I think. You know, he didn't have the balls to face the fans. He was too scared of the fans. And so the players, you know, at the end of the day, all those fans were doing was expressing their upset, their frustration, their anger at what had happened. There was no violence. There was no threat. There was nothing there. And for people like Jim White and Simon Jordan and Emmanuel Petit to try and paint Rangers fans as been in the wrong on this, it's just absolutely disgusting. And yes, look, yes, some of the abuse at times, including for myself, has got a little bit personal of Russell Martin, don't get me wrong, but he's brought it on upon himself. The guy has brought it upon himself with the appalling, his sheer arrogance, his sheer just dim-wittedness, his lack of grasp on reality, you know, and the fact that football that we played under that manager was dire, it was boring, it was turgid, and to quote Stevie Clifford from Four Lads, who I don't often quote, you know, it was like we weren't being coached. Fact. That team did not look coached. It did not look organised. It did not look like it knew what it was doing. Genuinely. And, you know, to say, oh, it was out of order because no one wanted him there in the first place and we're booing him in pre-season friendlies. Yes, no one wanted him there because the guy was a failure. Simon Jordan, you can say he's not a failure. He is a failure. He's a failure. He got a Southampton team promoted that had 10 years in the Premier League, had the large core of their Premier League squad still in place, and had parachute money from the Premier League still to be able to put them over other clubs. And they got promoted over Leeds. And Leeds also had parachute money. The three teams that had parachute money finished. It's just bizarre to me. Bizarre, this argument. You know, Simon Jordan, look, talks a lot of crap. He really does. Sean asks in the live chat, how much will the new manager get in January? I think there will be some money available, Sean. I think there definitely will be money made available by the board for the new manager, whoever he will be. He's for Rafa Benitez, David Ancelotti or Frank Lampard. And as I said, I do think, though, that the chances of getting Frank Lampard out of Coventry are very, very, very slim indeed, buddy. I do not think that will happen at all. Don't think that will happen at all. Airwolf says, Gerrard has lost his mojo. LFC job is no longer attainable. Mate, I wouldn't be so sure. Arne Slot is under a lot of pressure there. Muscat plays from the back, so don't see how that's any better than what RM was doing. The only thing I'd say about that, Airwolf, is that Muscat plays a lot faster and a lot more aggressive than Russell Martin. Thelwell sacked Lampard as well. Thelwell sacked a lot of managers. Thelwell's just useless. If Stephen G is coming in, then good, but don't like ex-manager coming back. He did walk out on us. He did win the league, but 3 years he did do good against Celtic, so we'll just see what happens. The one thing I'll say about Stevie G leaving Rangers, Sean, is that he left because he wasn't being backed, and I think he felt betrayed by the Parks. I really do. I think there was a really interesting point raised the other day on one of the Rangers pods, which was, you know, if Stevie G had been the manager and this ownership group owned the club post 55, how would that have been different? And I think there would have been a lot more money invested. I think we would have won 56 and probably 57. I think we would have gone on to win a fair few more trophies under Stevie G with the backing been in place from these owners. You know, I think he was let down. I think he felt let down. I think he felt like promises were made and not kept to him. So, you know, I don't blame him for walking out. And let's face it, he was probably offered double his salary by Villa. So, you know, at the end of the day, why would you not go? You're always going to go for more money. Airwolf says, what is the obsession with inserting Rangers men into everyone's coaching staff? I mean, Airwolf, I'll be honest with you. Go back across my videos and you'll see that my desire is not just to put Rangers men in, it's to put the right men in place. It's to put the right people into the right jobs. And I really couldn't care less if when we get a new management team, if every single one of them has never had anything to do with our football club ever, and they are just very good at their jobs. And if we win I couldn't care less. I genuinely couldn't care less. Gerrard is a good fit for us, says Mays. Andrew Johnson says Dyche will be a disaster. I agree. I genuinely agree. Sean Dyche would be a disastrous appointment as Rangers manager. I want to come on to talk a little bit about Sean Dyche shortly. Sean says worst Rangers manager in the SPL, definitely. Bobby says somebody like McAllister would need to come in with Gerrard. Agreed. But interesting to see Gary Mack being interviewed the other day, wasn't there? He talked about the fact that he would come back in a heartbeat. Orville says, I know it's out there, but Davey Weir understands what it is to be a winner at Rangers. He would definitely get a tune out of the players. I think Davey Weir's more a front office kind of guy, though, Orville. That's the only thing I'll say. I don't think he's really a tracksuit manager. I don't think that guy on Rangers was talked about. I don't either, Sean. I think he was pretending to be that. Martin got sacked in the tunnel and didn't want to leave on the bus. Possible. David Weir's got a worse record of management than Russell Martin. Agree. So Sean Dyche. He had neither class or ability to be Rangers manager. Andrew, I agree. Celtic did more. Celtic did more at Celtic's bus when. Yeah, absolutely agreed on that one. There was nothing thrown, no violence, etc. I think you'll find that the police made him leave under escort as there was a fear of violent situation developing. Again, that's the police. I don't think there was. I think it was just a situation where the fans wanted to air their frustrations, the same way they did at Clermont post the Celtic game. Do you remember that when he was coming out of Ibrox and people were shouting at him? There was no violence there. No one tried to attack him or assault him. So I genuinely don't think there was any threat there. I think it's been spun out of all proportion just because it's us. Would Defo have McInnes on Muscat before bringing Gerrard back? 1 trophy in 3 seasons, failed wherever he went after Rangers. No thanks, says Thierry. It was slow, laborious. Agreed. Bobby says, apparently RM drove to Falkirk in his car. Must know he was getting sacked. Alexander Cameron, welcome, buddy. Time to bring Gerrard and Gary Mack back, I think. The Rio interview will tell us where Gerrard's head is. Would be amazing if they announced. Yeah, absolutely. FSG at LFC had to kiss a frog to get their prince. Who was that? Who was that, Airwolf? Who did FSG kiss to get a frog? You talking about Slot or are you talking about Klopp? Gerrard, Gary Mack, yeah, Defoe, yeah, Gerrard. Yeah, we've got lots of comments, guys. Trying to keep up with the comments hard. Dyche is a better manager than Gerrard. I dispute that, Airwolf. Dyche is a shit manager. Dyche is Martin, not good enough. That's why Derek or Barry is my choice, says Andrew. Andrew, I agree with Derek McInnes. I'm sorry, Barry Ferguson, not for me under any circumstances ever. Need to get back to signing a core spine of Scottish players. They have better mentality, says Scott. I agree. I do think we do need a Scottish core to this team. I really do believe this. We need a Scottish core to this team. We need to have a Scottish thread throughout the team because, as I've said, and go back and check out my videos, this is not something I'm saying as of new today. I've done research into this. Walter Smith's teams, if you go back and you look at Walter Smith, the second time he came to Rangers, when he didn't have as much money to spend, he used Scottish players throughout that team, and it was successful because the Scottish players got it. They understood it. Josie Bear Gaming says Derek is more than happy at Hearts. Barry was useless. I agree. I can't. Look. Let's just touch on the Derek McInnes things. We've got the manager poll running, guys. By the way, at the moment, 49% of you saying Gerrard, 18% saying, 19% now saying McInnes, 21% saying Muscat. 11% for other. Guys, if you're voting for the other, please obviously comment who it is that you want. You can only fit 4 possibilities on those YouTube polls. I can't include any more, so please obviously put on there who you'd like. Scottish core and midfield mentality, absolutely. Eggs Alexander, definitely no to Dyche, says Mays. Right, touching on, McInnes seems to be a name that's coming up an awful lot in the live chat, and I'll touch on McInnes first. I personally think that Derek McInnes would do an excellent job at Rangers. He's doing a great job at Hearts this year. He's got some money backing him now at Hearts with Tony Bloom's money. He's got a very good side there. He's got them playing some good football. They're organised. They're top of the league. And I honestly think that if they carry on, I honestly think that carrying on with him, I honestly think that they could actually challenge for the league title this season. I genuinely believe that. Celtic are not a good team this year at all. They're really poor. So personally speaking, I honestly believe that they could actually go for the title this season. And he's playing good. Like I say, he's a good manager. Now, people talk about the fact that he turned Rangers down in the past, and people say, well, that's a reason not to appoint him. You don't get to turn us down and then come back. It's like if a girl comes onto you and you turn her down, she's not going to take you back at some later time down the road. But at the end of the day, McInnes is turned that job down because Walter Smith told him that this was not the right time to take over Rangers, that Rangers were heading for a disaster, and to stay well away from Rangers. So I think, the reason he said no to Rangers was down to Walter Smith. He listened to Walter and what Walter said. So I do think that there was an element of that as the reason he did reject us. So I think saying that we don't have him because of him rejecting us in the past is a little harsh on him. Now, RM says Hearts don't have the depth of squad. That may be their downfall. The only thing I'd say, RM, to that is that Tony Bloom, I think, will back them again in January. If they're still up there in January, I do think that Tony Bloom will put a bit more money in and help push them on a little bit. So I do think this is a Hearts challenge that will go on all season. Like I said, I do think that Tony Bloom will continue to back them. He said that, Tony Bloom has made it really clear that he wants to break the dominance of the old firm in Scottish football, that he wants to be the one to do that. And I think, if you look at his track record in terms of at Brighton, what he's done there, he's got the track record for success. He's got the track record for making clubs successful. So I do think that he will do that at Hearts as well. And I think Hearts will become a force in Scottish football. Whether they're going to be long-term challengers, to Rangers and Celtic, only time will tell. But I do think they will become the third biggest force, at least on a permanent basis, and the biggest challenge to the old firm because of Tony Bloom's money, Tony Bloom's drive, and the way that Tony Bloom runs football clubs. So I do think this will be, and I do think RM that he will back McInnes in January again. Elwell says Dyche got Burnley to Europe, won the Championship. Gerrard almost relegated a better Villa side. Fair enough, but Gerrard, I'll stand by what I said this morning, that appointing Sean Dyche for Rangers would be a disaster on Russell Martin proportions if that man is appointed to our football club. Graham says morning to, yeah, no worries, buddy. No worries, buddy. Started watching Star Trek The Next Generation and saw the Ferengi episode. Patrick Stewart comparison is spot on and I cannot unsee it. Thanks, Owen. Ha ha, says Thierry. He is. He looks like one of the Ferengi from Star Trek. Alexander Cameron says, I think Dyche would bring a British core of players. He did really well with Burnley. At the end of the day, he had to deal with points deduction at Everton. Mate, I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about that in a minute. Bloom is not stupid. If there's a chance, he will invest in January if they're still there. I agree. Bloom is not stupid. He's a very, very good manager, a very good owner. Sorry. Right, I just want to bring up with you now some stick to ups. Owen, what's happened to Thelwell? He said if Martin goes, so will he. I don't know, mate. I don't know. He should stand by that, shouldn't he, and piss off. He definitely should. But I just want to share something with you. This is the stats. This is Sean Dyche's management stats. And I know there's a story beyond stats, but I just want to talk to you a little bit about this. This man is not fit to be Rangers manager. He plays boring, negative, defensive football, right? Dreadful football. As Watford manager, he had 49 games in charge, won 17, drew 17, lost 15, win percentage of 34.6%. All these win percentages are worse than Russell Martin's at Dons, at Swansea and at Southampton and at Rangers. Burnley, he was manager for 425 games, 149 victories, 118 draws, 158 defeats, 35% win percentage. At Everton, he had 84 games in charge, 26 wins, 26 draws, 32 defeats, 30.95% win percentage. His overall career is 558 games as a manager, 192 victories, 161 draws, 205 defeats. He's lost more games than he's won and has a win percentage of 34.4%. Cold hard stats, cold hard facts. This guy is a manager who loses more than he wins. At Burnley, lost 158, won 149. At Everton, 32 defeats in 26 wins. Now, people talk about, he had a challenging time as Everton manager because of the circumstances he found himself in. Right, guys, I just want to go over something with you. This is the season, the 23-24 Everton season, right? This was he was manager during the 23-24 Everton season, right? He got to the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup and was knocked out in the 4th round of the FA Cup. Okay, he finished 15th that season. 15th, guys, 15th in the season. Yes, in Premier League terms, he didn't spend a lot of money, but they still spent £32.25 million on players, including 32 million of that on strikers, okay? And they couldn't score goals. Right, let me just go over their squad that year. This was Everton's squad, right, in the 23-24 season. They had Jordan Pickford as their goalkeeper, a goalkeeper worth £25 million. They had Nathan Patterson, Michael Keane, James Tarkowski, Ashley Young, Vitaly Mikhailichenko, Ben Godfrey, Seamus Coleman, Jared Branthwaite, a player who is being linked with moves to Liverpool, Tottenham, Arsenal, Newcastle. All the big clubs in England are looking at Jared Branthwaite. Okay, Jared Branthwaite wasn't that so. So you look at that defence. They've got Keane, Tarkowski, Mikhailichenko, Branthwaite, Coleman, Patterson. They've got quality throughout that defence, right? Now, in their midfield, they had Anana, Doucouré, Dele Alli, who at that point was actually playing quite well before his breakdown, Andre Gomez, Idrissa Gueye, James Garner. Again, quality in that midfield. Gueye, Doucouré, Anana, all very, very talented players. Forwards, they had Dwight McNeil, who they'd paid 15 million for, Calvert-Lewin, Dan Juma, who they got from Villarreal, Jack Harrison, Beto, who they paid 21.5 million for. Good player, Beto, very good player. They've got Yusuf Chamiti, who they paid 15 million for. Yeah, great move that was. But yeah, again, quality. That squad has a lot of talent in it. That squad is not a Premier League finishing 15th squad. You give that squad to a manager like, for example, someone like Nuno Espirito Santo, or to Roberto De Zerbi, or to Thomas Frank, or to Iriola, they'll finish top half. So I don't want to hear this bollocks about Sean Dyche being a good manager. Sean Dyche is not a good manager. He failed at Everton, not because of the money, not because of the points deductions. He failed at Everton because he's just not a very good manager. Like I said to you, I've just given you the quality of players he had in that squad in the 23-24 season. Patterson, Garner, Doucouré, Beto, Tarkowski, Michael Keane. That's a top half Premier League squad. That's a top half Premier League squad. And the team that he left, David Moyes took from being a relegation candidate to 10th in the table. So you can see that he failed at a big club. Yes, unfortunately, people, Everton, people say Everton's a big club. I still think Everton are a shit tin pot, tiny little club, but there we go. He failed at Everton. And I'm sorry, but anyone who's saying Sean Dyche should get the Rangers job, you need to give your head a wobble. You need to give your fucking head a wobble, because if we appoint Sean Dyche, I'll be the first to come on here and absolutely call it out. Call it out for what it will be, which is a Russell Martin-esque disaster of an appointment. We don't want this man at our club. We don't need this man at our club. He will be a disaster on the proportions of Russell Martin, of Pedro Caixinha, of Paul Le Guen, of Mark Warburton. Let me tell you that. Let me tell you that now. What else have we got in the live chat, guys? Let's get to your chats. Owen Weapon to Thelwell, he said if Martin goes, I agree with that one. KF says, Hearts have a great chance to win the league. The unwashed are shite. Our team is better than both of those teams, but the gap is borderline. Gerrard won us the league undefeated. Look, I got to say I agree with KF. We are a team that I think is a lot better than our league position. I've said all along, I think this squad is decent. I think this squad has the ability to finish top 3. I think this squad has the ability to challenge for trophies if it has the right manager to organise it, to move it forward. I really do. RM says, everyone seems to think that an average manager in the English league will be an instant success in Scotland. I agree. And that's Sean Dyche. Sean Dyche is not even an average manager, RM. He's a shit manager. Alan Morrison says, here we go again. It must be so tiring being this negative every day. Who will be happy with Dyche as you constantly continue to moan? Sure, Alan, I don't want him. I'll be happy with Gerrard. I'd be happy with Muscat. I'd be happy with Russa. I'd be happy with Frank Lampard. I'd be happy with Danny Rule. Just not Sean Dyche. Isn't Thelwell's brother's dog, cousin's owner, free to take the job? Yeah. David Moyes is a good manager. He is. Absolutely. David Moyes is a good manager. He's a very good manager. Gerrard, 32% at Villa, 39% at Saudi, spent 100 million on one season, ended up 17th. Yeah, fair enough, Airwolf. I know you don't like Gerrard, and all I'm saying is Gerrard did it in Scotland. He's proved at Scotland. Gerrard failed at Everton. Gerrard failed at Villa. Yes, Lampard is succeeding at Coventry this season. He's got them top of the league. He's got them playing brilliant football. He's probably going to get them promoted this season to the Premier League. So I think Frank Lampard's a lot better than Sean Dyche. Airwolf, are you honestly telling me, if let's say, for instance, Airwolf, I've got a question for you now. If tomorrow we were given the choice to choose between Sean Dyche or Frank Lampard, you would choose Sean Dyche over Frank Lampard as our manager. Question for you. Get the Rangers supporters from Falkirk. I mean, they would clearly play for the shirt. Agreed. Dyche is not the man we need. Beale had a 71% win rate at Rangers. He was still poor. Agreed. Emery got Villa to the Champions League. Fair enough. Emery's a great manager. Emery is a very, very good manager. Don't get me wrong. Brilliant manager. Get rid of the two Ronnies, says Victor. Yeah, I agree. Thelwell and Stewart have got to go. Stevie G used the spine. It worked. Don't think he'll be right choice for the job, though. He did go the full season with no losses, but remember, he had wobbles, mainly due to inexperience. True. But who knows? How you doing, buddy? We are one game away from the cup final, and if we win the first trophy, it builds confidence. Absolutely. Gerrard had Mings, Martinez, Watkins, Lewis, McGinn. Okay, Airwolf, I get it, mate. I get it. Fine. But all I'm saying is Dyche is a fucking disaster. We don't want him. Dyche cleared up Lampard's mess. So, Airwolf, you would take Sean Dyche as manager over Frank Lampard? Really? Honestly? Mate, seriously, are you drunk this morning? Are you high? There's no way I would take him as manager. Not a chance. Not a chance. I'd honestly stop watching Rangers this season. I genuinely would if he was the manager. Genuinely. Martin done the work of two men, Laurel and Hardy, Alexander Camases, and a poor man's Coutinho. Right, I'm going to put a new poll up there. Actually, I want to put a new poll up there. Simple yes, no question. Would you be happy with Sean Dyche as Rangers manager? Right, there we go. Poll for you. Please, Celtic fans, don't vote. Just winding me up, possibly, mate, possibly. So for me, look, Sean Dyche would be an absolute disaster as manager. And honestly, guys, it would be awful. Steve Risk says, did we not speak to Lampard before we got Clement? We did. Now let's go back. If we go back to that for a minute, Steve. Frank Lampard was the man that Graham Souness championed. He was the man that Graham Souness wanted as Rangers manager, and he was kind of laughed out of town for it. And I think at the time, because of what had happened with Lampard at Chelsea and Everton, there was a kind of anti-Lampard feeling amongst the fan base. And I think there was a lot of people who, would have been very much against Lampard being manager at the time. And I wasn't particularly happy at that point with Lampard as the manager, don't get me wrong. But I do think that, if you look at what he's done at Derby, what he's done at Coventry, he did a good job at both those clubs. At Cov, he's doing. I mean, look, guys, I live literally 15 minutes from the stadium. My partner and my stepdaughter are both massive Coventry fans, unfortunately, I do have to watch a lot of Coventry games because they watch them, so I do sit and watch it because it's football. And I'll be honest with you. They're a really good side. They're a really good team. They're a really, really good team. Really good team. Really good team. Absolutely spot on. They're a very, very good side. And they're playing some really good football. They play fast, aggressive, quality football. They are defensively very sound. They are aggressive going forward. Now, the one thing I am going to say is I think there's absolutely zero chance that Frank Lampard would come to Rangers. I think that he wants to stay at Coventry because he sees that as an opportunity to get in the Premier League. He sees that as an opportunity to become a Premier League manager again. So they've got a very ambitious owner in Doug King who will back them. So I don't honestly see Lampard wanting to walk away from that. I think Lampard will want to stay as the manager of Coventry, because he'll see that as a great opportunity to get back in the Premier League and to prove that he can do it in the Premier League. And I'll be honest with you, I do think that Coventry will get promoted this season. I really do think that Coventry will get promoted this season. You've got Airwolf quoting management stats there over Frank Lampard. At Derby, he had a 42% win percentage. At Chelsea, he had a 52% win percentage. At Coventry, had a 50% win percentage. So it was only his time at Everton as a caretaker where he was a disaster, really, Airwolf. So 27% of 9% as Chelsea interim. Mate, that's actually incorrect. As Chelsea manager, yes, that was 9%, but his first spell at Chelsea, he actually had a 52% win rate at Chelsea. He won 44 of his 84 games, 23 defeats, 52%. His overall career is 42.92. It's only the Everton one that really lowers it, and the interim bit. Other than that, he actually did okay. You're picking 2 stats out of a number of stats. I thought Souness was advocating for Lamps at the time. He was, Steve. Proper statesman-like manager, no more coaches, says Blue Nose John. I agree. Bring back Super Ali. Trouble is with Lampard, he hasn't proved himself in the Premier League. Could be another Russell Martin. Yeah, I agree. And I'm not saying that Frank Lampard is the man who should be manager. I'm just saying that he's doing a good job at Coventry. He's doing a very good job at Coventry. Whoever it is needs to be a proper manager. Lamp's done okay at Chelsea, but forgot where they were dealing with a transfer ban at the time. Yeah, they were. Let's get Gerrard in, says Thomas. He knows the league, he knows what's expected of him, and he carries himself well. He picked up a good Cov side. What Cooper did at Forest was far more impressive. Yes, problem is, though, Steve Cooper's just taken another job at, I think, one of the teams in Italy, I think he's gone to. I think Steve Cooper is a manager somewhere else now, so I can't see him coming. I really can't see him coming. Poll, guys, please vote in the poll. 21% of say yes, you would be happy with Sean Dyche as manager. Jesus Christ, mate. Celtic fans, please stop voting yes. And 79% say no. Don't do no. RM says the thing that Lampard is doing well at a club that has lower expectations and doesn't have the same pressure as he had at Chelsea. True. Yeah, I mean, yeah, true. Look, I'm not saying that, Coventry are not a big club. Let's get this right. Coventry are not a big club. They're a Midlands team. That's all they really are. And if they go up to the Premier League, I think the best they can ever hope for is mid-table or a relegation fight. They're not a team that's going to ever go into Europe or into the Champions League spots. Don't get me wrong. That's where we are. But I'm not advocating. Look, guys, please don't think that I am sitting here this morning advocating and saying that I want him as a manager. I'm just saying that he's doing a good job at the moment. That's all I'm saying. And because I was asked about Frank Lampard. That's why I'm saying it. Would Knutson be a good appointment? Thierry, I think he would be a gamble. He would be a gamble, Kjetil Knutson as manager. Why do I think he would be a gamble? Because, yes, he's got a good record in Europe. So did Philippe Clement. He's got a good record in Norway with Bodo Glimt. But what else has he ever done? That's the question. What else has he ever done? Let's have a little look at. If we look at his career, Kjetil Knutson, and his management career, don't get me wrong. I think he's done a brilliant job with Bodo Glimt. Absolutely amazing job with Bodo Glimt. The fact that he's taken Bodo Glimt from being an also ran in Europe to actually getting through to knockout phases, quarterfinals, etc., etc. But you look at his managerial statistics. He's managed Fillings, Darlan, Asane and Bodo Glimt. He's never managed outside of Norway. Okay, he's never actually done it anywhere other than Norway. Yes, he's got through. He's got through to the Champions League this year. Brilliant, fantastic. He's in the league phase, the Champions League, which is brilliant. He lost in the semi-finals to semi-finals of the Europa League. So, at the end of the day, yeah, he's done a really good job in Europe. But like I said to you, Clement did really well in Europe. He did. But he's only ever managed in Norway. So it's going to be a real risk, isn't it? But Cooper is at Bromby. There you go. He's just gone to Bromby. So I can't see him being an option, really, at the moment. But yeah, Knutson, I think, would be a good appointment. I agree. New manager, Mate Raskin, captain, tried to build the squad around him for a couple of seasons. Time is now. KF, I fully support that. I think Raskin as captain would be a very, very good decision for Rangers. Yeah, absolutely. Picking up a distressed side and picking up an established side who has done well, 2 different scenarios. Benitez is on a retainer at Forest in case they sack Big Ange soon. McInnes, if they can get him. Raskin not kicked the ball. I mean, I think McInnes would be a good manager. I 100% agree with the guys in the live chat who were advocating for McInnes. But the one thing I'd say to that is, no way on God's earth does McInnes come. Hearts won't even pick up the phone to Rangers. Genuinely won't. Hearts will, and if we tried to get McInnes, they would make it so that the compensation package would be so heavy as to stop us from doing it. Because it's one reason is because they want to keep him as manager because he's done such a good job, and the second reason is because it's us. You know as well as I do that when we go in for Scottish players from Scottish teams, there is a tax. There's a Rangers tax. A player who's worth 3-4 million to any other club is a 7-8 million pound player to Rangers, isn't it? We know that. We know that. Blue Nose says Knutson's teams will always win at Killy, Livingston and Falkirk because he knows the plastic pitches. Yeah, true. RM says Robinson does well at clubs that the main goal is to stay in the SPFL. Martindale works wonders at Livingston, but that doesn't mean they will do well at Rangers. I agreed. Where's Marco Rosa, says David Christensen. He hasn't got a job at the moment, mate. Money talks, true. Look at what Frank's doing at Spurs. Decent manager changes everything. Yeah, I mean, Thomas Frank's doing a brilliant job at Spurs. I mean, he's got Spurs playing really, really good football. Really good football, absolutely. We should go for the Kyra Almaty manager. He knows how to beat Celtic. Ha ha. What bore out as manager. McInnes would be good for me, says Alexander Cameron. I mean, if you look at the odds this morning, in the moment, look at the odds. The next permanent manager. I mean, let's have a little look. So, Sean Dyche. Stephen Gerrard is still favourite with the majority of bookies at this moment in time. Sean Dyche is second favourite, which absolutely terrifies the living shit out of me. Davy Weir is third favourite. Fourth favourite is Mark Van Bommel. Fifth favourite is Danny Röhl. Then it's Muscat, McInnes, Potter, Gattuso, Prisca. I mean, Potter, no. Just Graham Potter, no. The guy's just failed at West Ham. He failed at Chelsea. Again, no. His football's boring, no. Gattuso isn't going to leave the Italy national team job, so that I think is a non-runner straight away. Prisca would be an interesting appointment, certainly. Stephen Davis, I don't think is realistic. Gary O'Neill, please God, no. That's another Russell Martin waiting to happen. The guy failed at Bournemouth. The guy failed at Wolves. No. Steve Cooper, I think is unrealistic. Steve Clarke, don't make me laugh. I mean, Steve Clarke as Rangers manager, could you honestly, an absolute Tim like him? No. Marco Rosa at 25s. Davide Ancelotti then is on the list as well. Barry Ferguson, Rafa Benitez, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Henrik Rydström, who I know very little about, David Healy, Bo Svensson, Ange Postecoglou, don't make me laugh, Frank Lampard, Michael Carrick, no, Wayne Rooney, please God, no, a guy who is worse than Russell Martin, Kjetil Knutson, Kieran McKenna, that'll be an interesting one, the Ipswich manager, he's a good manager, Sam Allardyce, no, Chris Wilder, James Morrison, Marco Silva, he's never going to leave Fulham, Issam Chirai, no. Jurgen Klopp already said he's not going to manage anywhere. Oliver Glasner, nah. He's going to be managing the Premier League with a big club. So I don't think that's going to happen. A name that I've heard a couple of people on here mention on the comments was Gareth Southgate. I mean, please God, no, not Gareth Southgate. I mean, any England fan will tell you, just no. Just no. Please, God, no. His football is awful. I mean, he didn't win a tournament with some of the world's best players. I mean, Gareth Southgate had the likes of Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane, Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's got some of the best players in the world, and he still couldn't win a tournament. Still couldn't do it. So for me, that would be an absolute disaster. Absolute disaster. Let's get to some of your comments in the live chat. Money Talks. Airwolf, look at, I had that comment. Where was that comment? No Potter, please, says Airwolf. Yeah, I agree. Definitely not. Just put on Sky Bet, just a fiver on Frank at 33-1. That's a great shout, Sean. Took the words right out of my mouth. Derek isn't leaving Hearts, been offered too much. I agree. I can't see him coming. As much as I would love him to be the next Rangers manager, as much as I would love to see Derek McInnes, it's just not going to happen. Just not going to happen. Gattuso is a no, says RM. Airwolf says, Robin at Bayern would understand the standards. He would, definitely. It was 80-1 for Russell Martin to be sacked before Halloween. Potter would be a magical manager. Ha ha, very funny. No more coaches. I want a fucking manager. Been over the most successful when we had a figurehead, not a Walter Mitty. I agree, Andy McDonald. We need, to me, that is one thing we do need, is a real leader. A real leader. A real proper figurehead manager who's going to come in, take no nonsense, organise the team, sort the team out. We don't want a project. I don't think. Southgate probably had the best players that England had in a long time and did nothing. RM, you're spot on, mate. And Errol says no, please, to Southgate. Yeah, I agree. I mean, Southgate, to me, failed at England. Yes, he got us to finals, but he never won anything. And with the players that he had. Andrew Johnson says, oh, Barry. And Errol says, please, no, Barry. Look, let's address the Barry Ferguson thing, right? I will always see this, right? Always see this. Barry Ferguson, the player, the Rangers player. Barry Ferguson, the Rangers captain. Barry Ferguson, the Rangers man. Barry Ferguson, the Rangers fan. Love them. Love all four incarnations of Barry. Okay, I love him as a player. I loved him as our captain. I loved him as a Ranger. I love him as a Rangers man, and I love him as a Rangers fan. But as a manager, he's just not got it. As a manager, he's just not up to the job. Okay, he basically dines out on that win at Parkhead. Okay, if Barry Ferguson had not won at Parkhead, okay, had not won that game at Parkhead, honestly, do you think he would be spoken about at all for this job? No, I don't. If he hadn't won that one game. You know, you look at his time as the Rangers manager, and he was there in a short interim basis, and he used very much that short interim manager type approach to things. Shouted a lot, yelled a lot, got in players' faces a lot. Now, in the short term, that works. Okay? And in a minute, and I'll give you an example in a minute of that type of management and how long term it doesn't work. As Rangers manager, he was manager for 15 games. He won 6, drew 5, lost 4. 40% win percentage. Not bad. His second highest in his career. Okay? But we struggled to beat average teams. We struggled to beat poor teams. Okay? Yes, he dines out on the Fenerbahce game, and he dines out on the Celtic game, right? The two brilliant performances, 2 brilliant wins, don't get me wrong. But overall, as a manager, he failed at Rangers, and he's not a good manager. Now, in terms of, you know, that approach that Barry takes to managing, right, where he uses the shout, get in people's faces, call players out, throw players under the bus, get in players' face, you know, really verbally attack players. In the short term, that works, right? In the short term, where you are yelling, bawling, screaming, kicking off, you'll do it, right? You'll do it. Let me give you an example. Stuart Pearce, very similar in terms of being a manager, right? Stuart Pearce, as Man City manager, 97 games, 34 wins, 20 defeats, 20 draws, 43 defeats, 35.1% win percentage. As Forest manager, 32 games, 10 wins, 10 draws, 12 defeats, 31%. Stuart Pearce, if you go back to his time in charge of those football clubs, initially, he was exceptionally successful. Initially, he did really well. But then the shout, players turn off. Players stop listening. They're just like, oh, he's shouting again. Oh my God, he's shouting again. Think back to when you were at school. That teacher who used to yell all the time. Initially, you were scared. You were like, fuck, he's shouting. Jesus Christ, do as I'm told. And in the end, as it got to like this December, January time, oh, they're shouting again. Boring. Not listening. And that's what happened. You know, that's what happened. And Barry Ferguson, that's the type of manager that he is. So I honestly don't think that Barry Ferguson would be a good manager. And I'm sorry. And people have said, oh, you know, Barry Ferguson until the end of the season. Barry's already made it clear that he will not take this job on an interim basis. He wants it permanently. I'm sorry. Barry Ferguson is not the man for the job. As a manager, he is Mike Bassett. He's Barry Bassett. That's what he is. And I'll always call him Barry Bassett as a manager. But I love him as a Rangers man. Please don't think I am not saying that I don't love Barry, because I do. I love him as a Rangers fan. I love him as a Rangers man. I love him as a Rangers player. I love him as a Rangers captain. But as a manager, please God, no. I'd rather have Mike Bassett as the manager. Yes, I know that's Ricky Tomlinson for anybody points it out. But look, please no. Please no. The Phantom Wall says the Tims will be snookered if we appointed Stephen Davis with Stephen Hendry as number 2. Lol. What price Gary Neville, not the Brett May? Jesus, that absolute disgusting disgrace of a man should never work again. He's an absolute scumbag, Gary Neville. After what he said the other day on social media, on that video that he made, he is a scumbag. How many times did McInnes get an absolute morning from Celtic when he was at Aberdeen? True, RM. I suppose it'll be in the long run. It'll see what happens when he's at Hearts. Blues, if Stevie G comes back, I would accept Beale back as first team coach. Yeah, look, at the end of the day, Blue Nose, I've said this morning in the video, and I'll say this again. If Stevie G comes back and he says he wants Michael Beale as his assistant manager, I don't care. If it means we win trophies, I couldn't care less. If he wants Michael Beale as his assistant, and he wants Paul Le Guen as his first team coach and Pedro Caino as his fitness coach, as long as we win trophies, I couldn't give a monkeys. When did doing well at a Lowland League job give you a top? Absolutely, Airwolf, agreed. Ewan would take Barry Ferguson, mate. Disagree. Barry was a very poor manager. They conceded so many goals against jobber teams. He was lucky to beat Fenerbahce. He was. If Kettle was interim, fans wouldn't want him, says Airwolf. Agreed on that one. Poll, guys, 27% of you saying yes to Dyche. Please, God, no. 73% saying no. Vast majority against that as manager. I'm going to start a new poll, guys. Start a poll. Right, okay. This is just an interesting... I just want to take this one. I'm going to launch a poll. Here we go, guys. So this is my poll. Would you take Barry Ferguson as permanent, not until the end of the season, permanent Rangers manager? Okay, yes or no? Let's get that poll going. In the live chat. See how you respond to that one. Right, let's have a little look. So let's go back over some of your comments. Gary Neville, please, no more lefties. Kick Neville out of here. Absolutely. Barry had a shit team, Owen. Okay, but he still was. Yeah, but he's still a shit manager. If Gary got the job, 90% no fans at Ibrox. Gerard interview on the Rio Ferdinand channel at 4:00. Says not the Brett May. Michael White, Hearts could be a flash in the pan like Aberdeen, so we might have a chance to get McInnes. True. The board should have listened to Barry as far as Scottish signings are concerned. I agree. You know, Shankland, Mulligan, Penrice. Yeah, I would have definitely got all of those guys as... I definitely agree with you on that one, Blue Nose. There's no point in discussing Barry any further, says Juicy Bear Gaming. Alexander Cameron says, that's why the Warnock's Big Sam don't last. Yeah, absolutely. They don't. Like I said, shouting and yelling works for a short time. Then it just falls away. Perhaps, but without a chance to build a team, he did a good job with complete dross. He didn't, Andrew. He did a shit job. Thielen started well at Aberdeen. Let's see if Hearts... Yeah, agreed. Jim White stated the fans sat down menacing. Jim White's a joke, mate. Jim White is an absolute joke. Talk sport. Get me on with Jim White and Simon Jordan, please. Andrew Johnson, he was just pumped by silly jobber sides. Yeah, agreed. I think Martin had been told that Falkirk was his last game before the match. It makes sense to make the change in the international break. I agree, Blue Nose. It always makes sense to make when there's a break, when there's a natural break in things. I agree. Airwolf's not convinced that Hearts will be up there March, April. Well, guess what? Only time will tell on that one. Then we should have kept Clem on as he had the same shit team. Neville is a bomb scare. He'd probably take down our Union flag. True. If McInnes fell off like Thielen, then would we want to take him as manager? No, probably not. For me, there is only one option. That is Muscat, proven winner and great style of football. True. He outsmarted Jose, beat the Monkey Mob first time in 5 years at the Gyro Dome. Pete, correct, he did, but he played crap. But he was not a good manager. Like I said, I'd rather have Mike Bassett. A definite no to the Chuckle brother Neville, agreed. You think Marathe, etc. are going to be more hands-on with choosing a manager? Airwolf, I think that Kavanagh will be. I think that Andrew Kavanagh will be very involved in the process. I think he will get involved. I think Greta Steinson will be involved. I think Thelwell, unfortunately, will be involved. I think Stewart will, unfortunately, be involved. I don't think Maratha will. I honestly think Maratha is more worried and concerned over Leeds United. I think Maratha is focusing more on what's going on at Leeds rather than what is going on at Rangers. If you look at the situation, down in England, how Leeds are not doing. They're doing okay, but they're not doing great. I do think that that he is more worried about what's going on down there than what is going on at Rangers. I think his focus is going to be on Leeds, and I think he's kind of said to Andrew Kavanagh, "You're focusing on Rangers. I'm focusing on Leeds." That's where I'm at. I mean, if you look at Leeds, recently they lost 2-1 to Tottenham on Saturday, just gone. They were poor in that game. I listened to it on the radio. They drew 2-2 against Bournemouth, beat Wolves 3-1, lost to Fulham, drew 0-0 with Newcastle, lost 5-0 to Arsenal, did beat Everton on the first day of the season. In terms of their league placing at the moment, they are 15th in the league at this moment in time. They're on 8 points. They're only 4 off Burnley in 18th. Their form is not great. Out of the last 5 games, they've lost 2, drawn 2, won 1. So I honestly think there's probably more focus for Maratha on Leeds, and he's leaving Kavanagh to run Rangers. I mean, that's just a guess. I might be wrong. You've lost the plot, Peter McCarthy says. Mate, I'm sorry, but Barry Ferguson would be a disaster as Rangers manager. The guy's got no track record of succeeding anywhere. He's failed wherever he's been as manager. Absolutely useless as a manager. Like I said, I'd rather have, as much as I'd rather have, I don't know, Steve Davis back. I'd rather have Ali McCoy's back than have him. Gerrard or Muscat for me, definitely not Dyche or Lampard, says Sharpie Staunch. Blue Nose says, I hope Kavanagh and Maratha are not going to miss Thelwell and Stewart in all this mess they've made. To me, Blue Nose, the only thing I would say, buddy, is that they seem to have doubled down on their support for Thelwell and for Stewart. Paragraph here that says, moving forward, we are fully confident in our players who possess the talent and determination to succeed. At the same time, a great deal of important work is progressing across the club, building out a stable leadership and football structure under Patrick and Kevin's guidance, advancing detailed plans aligned with our long-term strategy. To me, that sounds like a double down in their support for Kevin and Patrick. So I don't think there's any chance that Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart are going to go anywhere anytime soon. To me, they sound to be fully backing him. The poll that's currently running, guys. Yes, 31% of you would take Barry back as permanent manager. 69% of you say no to Barry as permanent Rangers manager. Steve Riskers, Muscat plays a system similar to Ange Ball. He played that system for him out there in Australia. Yeah, he does. Muscat is very similar to Ange Postecoglou. That worked in Scotland. It didn't work in Europe. So do we kind of sacrifice Europe for Scotland? I think, at the moment you kind of have to and just see Europe as a way to make money. Bit of a controversial opinion, but there we go. Muska, we got Peter McArthur. I have a feeling it's going to be McInnes or Rafa. Hopefully not Dyche with his 31% win record. I agree with you on that one, Pete. Definitely not Dyche. I honestly don't think it's going to be McInnes, mate. Not a chance. Not a chance it's McInnes. No way I think he gets the job. I have to admit it, I'll miss Martin's hair. No managers with hair. Funny. That would be hilarious, wouldn't it? Going from Sean Dyche, Mr. No Hair, and then from Russell Martin to Sean Dyche would be funny. Don't drag this appointment out for over a month. I agree, Sharp. It doesn't appear that way. Looking at what they said in that letter yesterday about a speedy resolution to this, I think it will happen. Who unites the fans as fans can't agree on the colour of our top? Agree, Airwolf. I think that's definitely the case, mate. I honestly believe that whoever we appoint, everyone will not be happy. Definitely not. Chris Brown. Hey, Chris, is it you? Are you the singer? Surely the Everton deal for Chimiti has something to do with the money they owed for Nathan Patterson. Possibly. Wonder if Thelwell Jr. will have a say. Probably. Glasner should have got before Martin. Glasner was never going to leave Palace after winning the FA Cup, mate. So not going to happen. Yes, he's only got a year left on his deal. Yes, he'll walk in the summer. Yes, he'll probably go to somewhere like one of the big clubs in Germany, or he'll take over Manchester United if Amarim gets sacked. Definitely not. I know. I was being facetious, Sean. Alexander Cameron says, Gasman, Ant-Man, Asgard, hopefully with a manager that gives them the license to perform, I think the attack will improve. You've got to hope so, Alexander. I've got to say I've been impressed with Gassama, not impressed with that. Good for team spirit, but as a manager, it's a no-go. Mark is what I'm saying. As a short-term, interim, kick-ass manager, he's good. But as a long-term manager, he would fail. If Rangers want Muscat, then we'll have to wait till around 6 weeks as he's currently top by 2 points with 4 games to play. He will want to stay and win the league again, says Thierry. Possible. That's a possibility. I mean, there's a lot of talk that he won't be available to December around Kevin Muscat. Kavanagh is on his way. I think he will be having serious conversations with Stewart and Thelwell and taking more of an involved role. I do too. I think there will be more involvement from Kavanagh in the appointment process this time. And let's face it, Kavanagh's a guy who must be good at appointing people to top jobs. He's got a very successful business. And very successful businessmen become very successful businessmen because they're good at appointing people. Now, I'm not saying he'll know football, or soccer, as he probably calls it, but he will know character. He'll know personality. He'll know, be able to talk around those things, certainly with that manager. Martin ruined my birthday the night we lost 6-0 to Bruges. I would have sacked him. Oh, yeah, me too. Simon Jordan thinks Benitez. I don't think it'll be Benitez. The problem that we've had in managers that suit European style, but we struggle in the Scottish game. Yep, absolutely. We'll talk about Rafa Benitez in a minute. But not the Brett May. Gerrard will be announced on Friday. Interesting shout from not the Brett May. Martin, United, the fans, they all wanted him gone. True. Not one person. Victor, I agree. There's nobody off that. As I said on the video this morning, there's nobody on that list that absolutely excites me. That I would go, yes, I want him. It's got to be him. It's got to be him. Nobody at all. The only person who would stand out, the only person, Victor, that I would get up for as the new Rangers manager, as the guy who I would want as Rangers manager, would be Jurgen Klopp. He'd be the one guy I'd be like, come on, I've got to get Klopp. But that's never going to happen. As Klopp's already said that he doesn't want to manage again after Liverpool. We do have a pool of decent footballers. A manager that can whip them into shape is a must. I agree, Honest G. I honestly think this squad is not as bad as it looks at the moment. It isn't. Next manager, regardless, needs full backing. Agreed. Times like this, Walter's wisdom would have helped. I agree, Airwolf. I would have loved to have Walter's wisdom around this one. Times like this. Peter McCarthy says, what's going to happen to Fernandes now? He will be loaned out for the rest of his Rangers career, possibly. Was Kavanagh not involved in hiring Russell Martin? I don't know, Sharpie. I don't know. Benitez is getting the Forest job, possibly. Dyche will have the team eating dripping sandwiches on the street like Rate My Takeaway. That's been stopped now, that Rate My Takeaway Phantom Wall, because they've all fallen out with each other. There's loads online about it. I'd love Souness to take the job, but I know it won't happen, says Sharpie Staunch. No, it's not going to happen, buddy. I can't see Graham Souness coming back as manager. That's not going to happen, ever. Kavanagh made the mistake of relying on other people's judgment as he knows nothing about football, but guaranteed he'll be taking advice from others out with Rangers. Yeah, absolutely, he will be. And he'll also, I think as well, be in a situation where he does know character. He does know what it is to be a good character, to have the right character, to do a job well. You and CJ Novo for the job. Mate, I'd love it. Is Curtis finished at Rangers? Possibly. But under a new manager, we don't know, Airwolf. Under a new manager, he might get more of an opportunity. We need a manager who's going to find the player in Asgard. I agree. Find the Thor in Asgard. Find the God in Asgard. Yes, absolutely, Blue Nose. We need someone to find the God in Asgard. I mean, on the Benitez situation, I don't see it, if I'm being honest with you. I don't see Rafa Benitez actually becoming manager of Rangers. I don't think that's going to happen. Do I think Rafa Benitez is a good manager? Yes, I do think Rafa Benitez is a very, very good manager. If you look at, certainly, when he was at Valencia, he won the league in Spain, which, he beat Real Madrid, he beat Barcelona, he beat Atletico Madrid. Now, if you exit out of the top three in Spain, realistically, Barcelona and Real win most of the league titles over there, and occasionally Atleti get a look in. But, realistically, he did it with Valencia. He got them to a Champions League final. He won the Champions League with Liverpool. He is a good manager, don't get me wrong. This is a guy who wins things wherever he goes. If you look at his managerial career for a minute, as a manager, he won La Liga twice. He won the UEFA Cup. He got to the Champions League final with Liverpool. He won the FA Cup. He won the Champions League, was runner-up in 2006-2007, won the UEFA Super Cup, was runner-up at the World Club Championship. With Napoli, he won the Italian Cup. With Chelsea, he won the Europa League. He won the Italian Cup and the World Club Cup with Inter Milan. His managerial record isn't bad. He's a decent manager. He knows how to organise a team. He knows how to get a team playing. He knows British football. Certainly knows British football. I mean, that's one thing that he does do. He does know British football. So that's a positive, but I don't see it. I don't see it at all. Let's have a quick look at your comments before we go this morning. Greta Steinson was the man driving the Rangers management recruitment RM. I certainly think that Greta Steinson has a very big role and word to say within the 49ers structure, certainly. Here's one from left field. Edin Terzic, ex-Dortmund. Interesting. Steve, never heard of him. I'll look into it. Kavanagh should talk to Sir Alex when he comes over. I agree. Sir Alex would be a very good person to get involved in this management recruitment process. Although I will say that Sir Alex recommended Davy Moyes to take over at Man United. Owen, who's the front runners for the job? Have you heard anything, mate? Sharpie, no. Only the names I've heard, again, are Gerrard, Dyche, Muscat. The same names you've heard, mate. Finley Curtis should be a starter for us instead, not even being on the bench. Mays, I agree. Finley Curtis should be starting. He's a good footballer. He shows more pride, more passion, more aggression than any of the players in that team. I can see Benitez doing well at Forest in the Europa League, if that's who they're getting. True. I think Man United would have done that if they hadn't got it right. Martin's gone. Great news for Curtis and Sihala. Yeah, absolutely. Curtis will hopefully get more game time. True. Ross Wilson effect now hurting Forest. Get through managers like hot dinners. True. I think that's more Marinakis, if I'm being clear, Alan, rather than actually Ross Wilson to blame for that one. Benitez knows English football, which is different. He does. He knows British football. That was Hector Cooper that got Valencia to the Champions League. Oh, sorry, I forgot that. There we go. But yeah, he's a good manager. He's a good manager, but I don't think he's realistic, CJ. Moses hung out to drought Man United. He was the right man at the wrong time. Fair enough. Like I said, I'm just going off what I know. Right, guys, that is it for this morning. I need to go and get ready for work. Thank you for watching Glasgow Raiders Nation this morning. Thank you for your votes. Thank you for your chats. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your support. Guys, we'll be back with another live this week, so please obviously look out for that. We will feature it now. Guys, just a quick note. We do have a few extra new things here on the channel. Okay, we've got our social media. So we are on Twitter or X which is at the Nation 1872. Yes, Blue Nose John. I don't want to comment on that because I'm scared of Marinakis. So please follow us over on X at the Nation 1872. We're also on TikTok, OGGRN872. We're on Instagram as well at Glasgow Rangers Nation. We are also now on WhatsApp. We have a WhatsApp channel as well now, guys, where we'll put stuff about the videos, we'll put information about stuff coming up, all sorts of information over there, guys. So we are over on we are actually over there now on that on WhatsApp. We do have a WhatsApp channel. I will drop the link to the WhatsApp channel in the description for this video. So if you want to join the WhatsApp channel, just click on that link, obviously, and we'll get there. Thanks for watching, guys. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. As always, I will catch you on the next one.